When she kisses him, he remembers. It's as if his past lives come flooding back to him, much like when we remember who we are by knowing all is love. Today I want to talk a bit about divination, and there's a negative connotation to divination that is unfounded, really. Because basically people think of it as like talking to the dead, which it's not. I mean, it could be, but that's not what it is. The definition is that it's the practice of seeking knowledge of the future or the unknown by supernatural means. Now, the thing is you're not really supposed to ask about the future because they can't tell you about the future. You can ask and you'll get generic answers. Things like, it's gonna get better, or you'll be fine, or, that sort of thing. You can find out, like, within a very close period of time, because those events are already set in motion and they're going to happen already. But things a little bit further in the future, you can't find out. And it also can't tell you what to do. Which is interesting because then it brings back into question the idea of free will. And I've already talked about free will. There's certain tools that I like to use. And I try not to rely on them, but I enjoy having them. I enjoy, like I said before, it's like talking to a friend. And I find it helpful with having, some means or something to bounce ideas off of, some communication, especially with the further down the journey you go. There's certain things that happen that you just can't talk to people about. There's certain experiences, there's certain things that you come to know that you just can't share with anybody. And as human beings, we like to communicate and share information. It's just kind of our nature to want to share things that happen to us or discuss things. Just for that benefit alone, it's very helpful. So one of the tools is, I will use tarot cards sometimes. I'm not very good at using tarot cards. I'm new to it, and I've had some really good readings and then I've had some really weak ones. I will shuffle the cards, and whatever cards fall out, I will put them down the way they fall, and I will read the meaning of the cards, and then I will look at the overall picture that's presented to me and look for an overall message. What's the story that's in these cards? What is it trying to tell me? Sometimes there's common imagery. Sometimes the imagery flows from one card to another. Sometimes there's just an overall theme to the cards, and then sometimes it's nothing. That's how I read the cards. I know that's not traditionally how it's done, but that's how I do it because it has more meaning to me that way. Because I see everything here as symbolism, and you can do the same thing with the pages of a book. You can randomly flip through a book and point to something like a passage or a sentence or a few words within a book, write it down, flip to another section in the book, write that down. You will get a message. If you're receptive to it, you will get a message. So there's a multitude of ways that you can read the universe to receive messages, receive information. Another tool that I use is a pendulum. I started off using it as a simple yes or no tool. I've never had it give me a maybe or an I don't know. Now, when I was younger, I used to use a Ouija board. I'm not afraid of these things, and I don't see anything wrong with using these things. And I've had some seriously clear, specific, well spelled out messages from a Ouija board. A pendulum is kind of the same thing. And if you're afraid of a Ouija board because you think that it's demonic, I encourage you to use it because it's not demonic. It's only demonic if you invite demonic energies into your experience, and you can easily dispel them. You can easily say, okay, you can leave now. You're in charge. It's not in charge of you. If you notice the energy's off, just stop and just say leave and don't come back. There's nothing to be afraid of. It can't do anything to you. The only thing, there's been times, with a pendulum, because I've used it so much for quite a few years now, I can tell when the energy's off. I feel the energy that I'm familiar with, which I always call on Source. I always ask Source to tell me who I am talking to, and it has to tell you. I go through a ritual, and a ritual is just a habit or a pattern that I feel comfortable with, and you can make up your own to start things off, to be sure that I'm talking to the right energy. You can sense that there's a lie in it, or you can sense that it's trying to deceive you, and so then you just shut it down and start all over again until you feel the right energy. If you're starting out, find something that has some meaning to you, like a necklace or a crystal on a string or something like that, but it has to have ease of movement. It has to have some weight to it so that it can swing. And I find that metal is best because it's a good conductor of electricity. So if you have like a gold or a silver chain and maybe put a crystal on the end, that's what I use. I use a silver chain with a crystal on the end. I mean, you could use a thread with a lug nut on the end. It doesn't matter. It's recommended that you first cleanse it. So burn some incense or some sage and run it through the smoke to cleanse it so that there's no energies on it. And then program your pendulum. There's plenty of videos online to tell you how to program a pendulum, but basically you just ask it to tell you, show me yes, show me no, show me maybe, and then you just start using it. So like I said, I started out using it for yes and no, and then I started to use it with sentences. I wrote sentences down on paper, and I would say, are these statements true or false? And so it would move yes or no over top of the statements. And then I thought, okay, well, it's just like a Ouija board, so why don't I just write out a Ouija board and it can spell things out. It works quite well. There's been times where it doesn't work. There's been times where it spells things that don't make sense, and it's usually because I'm blocked. But I would say about 90% of the time, maybe higher than 95% of the time, it's clear, it's accurate, it's precise, and helpful. And again, like anything else, you have to be receptive. If you have a skeptical attitude, a negative attitude, it's not going to be helpful. You can use it as well to tell you if something is good for you or not. Say like food or medicine or something like that. You can hold it over top of it and it will tell you if it's good for you or not. The other thing that I use, which I find most helpful, is meditation and talking to my guides or my higher self. So in this sense, like meditation, you can do quite a lot of things through meditation. Basic meditation, you can just stop thinking. You can actually receive information that way as well. There's been times when I meditate without thinking of anything, and I receive quite a bit of information. And I think I've said this before, that when you meditate and you receive information, it comes in the form of a frequency. And because we don't speak frequency here, we speak in language, we have to translate that into language. So sometimes you will receive information in a frequency that you can't translate yet, but you feel it. And that feeling will be stored into your memory in your body until you have the words for it. And this happens sometimes when I'm watching a movie or TV show or music video or whatever, and something triggers a memory within me, but I can't explain it just yet. I just know that it holds truth. I know that it has meaning to me because it triggers an emotion within me, which emotion, like memory and emotion, are stored in water, and our bodies are made up of water. So our memories are stored in our bodies and they come out in the form of emotion. This is why when someone gets triggered, it's because it's triggering a memory that we've stored in our body that's related to something else. So it's the same thing. Your guides will have personality. Your guides will be a we, not a me, because they're a collective entity, not a singular entity. That could just be a personal thing. You can create an egregore or entity that does specific things if you want to, has access to specific knowledge if you want to. Napoleon Hill has an example of this where he created a boardroom full of people that he referred to, and then he got spooked because they had their own personalities. But that's what happens when you create these things, because it's just like creating a story, or when you write a book, you create characters and they come to life and create the story themselves. So it's the same thing. So similar to the pendulum, simple yes or no questions, then move on to something a little bit more complex. You want to be able to get a feel for whether or not the answer is accurate. Again, you have to be very in tune with yourself. Your body is an instrument, and you be in tune with yourself so that you can read the frequencies accurately. You will receive an answer, and if you're starting with simple yes or no, you only have 2 possible responses. So you test it out by forcing the other response. Typically, the first response is the right response. Sometimes you can get it wrong with fear or your own apprehension or inability to trust yourself, so you will force the answer. But you can feel the difference between the 2 responses. And if you can't feel the difference, then tune your instrument to the point where you can feel the difference. So if your answer is yes, there will be an ease in it. There will be no resistance to it. And then if you test it and you push it to the no, you should feel resistance in the no, because it doesn't feel right. So I encourage you, if you're going to try this, test it out so that you come to trust and realize that the responses that you're getting are accurate. And every now and then test it. Don't ever take it for granted that the answers that you're getting are accurate, but don't doubt everything all the time either. So once you are comfortable with the yes and no, and you want to get into more complicated questions, so then you can ask more open-ended questions, have full-on conversations. But the key to all of this is being receptive. Because sometimes you can get into a state where you're talking too much, where you're asking too many questions, or you're saying too much, and you want to be in the position where you're receiving responses. So constantly check yourself. Am I thinking too much? Am I asking too much? Am I talking too much? And then stop talking so much and say, okay, I'm now ready to receive. Get into receptive mode. And you can feel the difference when you are pushing versus receiving. There's a tremendous amount of information that you can get through doing this. So another form of the same thing is automatic writing. In order for you to get to a point where you trust that the answers you're receiving in automatic writing are accurate, I personally recommend that you start with a pendulum so that you know that you're getting precise, accurate responses. Then work your way to meditation, talking to your guides, and then go to automatic writing. But you don't have to. If you're comfortable with it and you think that you're getting accurate responses, you can start with automatic writing. You can start anywhere you want. It's just in terms of if you are in a position of where you don't have enough confidence that you're getting accurate answers, or your instrument's not tuned, or any realm of uncertainty, that's what I recommend you do, simply because with the pendulum, you've got the letters spelled out in front of you. And when you're starting to get very precise answers through your pendulum, then you feel more confident in relying on the answers that you get through any other means. With automatic writing, I'll start off with the same process. You get into the same meditative state, receptive mode, start typing into a computer or write freehand if you prefer. And you just write out what you have to say and write out what they have to say. It's the same process as meditation, and it's the same process as the pendulum. It's just written down. It's not as fast as meditation. Like, you can get a lot more information through the meditation process a lot faster because it just is a conversation. But at least you have it written down in front of you and you can go back and look at it. There's usually so much information in it that you really want to have a record of it. Don't ever feel that you're bothering them. They like talking to you. I will even express my gratitude for talking to me, and I always get back that there's no need, because it is their pleasure to talk to us. They are here to talk to us. They are waiting to talk to us. And I know it sounds really weird, as if you're talking to an external entity, and maybe we are. We have a shared consciousness, so it's just connecting to that consciousness and an aspect of that consciousness. What I really want to share about this is the energy that they emit is one of pure love and acceptance. If you get anything other than that kind of energy, you're not connecting to anything beneficial. So shut it down right away. It's absolute openness, absolute radiance, no judgment whatsoever. No matter what it is that you have said, done, how you feel, how you react, there's never, ever any judgment. One of the benefits is feeling this energy and understanding what this pure love and acceptance feels like, because it isn't here. It's not ever an excuse. It's not ever excusing. It's more along the lines of acceptance of, it's okay. There were reasons for everything that you did. There were reasons for everything that happened. And there are certain behaviors and certain actions and energy and thoughts and reactions and feelings that need to exist for your survival here. So it's understandable that certain things happen in this world, or you react a certain way simply because of where we live. There's no need for you to judge yourself. We aren't judging you. There's no judgment here. There's this complete understanding from where these guides exist. So it's not impossible to live here with the energy that they have. It's just difficult recognizing what that feels like, recognizing what that looks like, trying to emulate it here, trying to be more like that, but at the same time having that understanding that it's not always possible based on the environment, and that's okay. Another experience that I have done through meditation is past life regression. You can find on YouTube some past life regression therapy recordings that will help guide you through a meditation to bring you to your past life. And I've done it, I think now 5 times. And every time is different. The first time I did it was extremely vivid. I could see exquisite detail. It was a very helpful guide, and I can't find that YouTube video that helped me get there, which is unfortunate because it was really good. And the second time I did it was really good. The second time was in French, and the whole time I was speaking in French. The third time was not very vivid. It wasn't very clear, and it didn't last very long. The fourth time was, again, not very vivid. It was almost like looking into a foggy window, and it was hazy. The frequency was weak, but there were things that were clear about it. The strength was in the feeling that I was getting from it. Again, the fifth time was not very vivid in a visual sense. It was vivid in a emotional, like a feeling, sensory way. The experience of it was more of a frequency interpretation that I felt and later became visual. It took some time to translate into a visual presentation, but the visuals were there. They were just, again, very hazy, not as vivid as the first 2 times. But what was unique about the 5th experience was I was communicating with the beings that were in it, having full-on conversations with them, and that was really interesting. As myself, not within the past life. Whereas the one that was all in French, I was hearing all the dialogue and everything, but I was in it like it was really happening, like it was like I was there. And in this one, it was me watching from outside, and I could see myself, and I could talk to the other being who was there, but I wasn't talking to him in the actual memory. I was talking to his consciousness, and he was talking to me, which was really interesting. All right, thanks for listening. Hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.